Hey guys, how you doing? Murph here, bringing you another stream tutorial. Today's tutorial is going to be on how to optimize your OBS or Streamlabs OBS settings for the best audio quality possible. And there's a few settings that you can change in OBS to optimize the way that your voice sounds from your microphone as well as your actual desktop audio, all of that kind of stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into settings. And whether you're using OBS or Streamlabs OBS, all of the settings are going to be the same. It might look a little different. For example, to get to the settings tab, I believe in OBS it's at the bottom right instead of on the left-hand side, but all of the settings are going to work exactly the same. So once you open up your settings panel, the first thing you're going to do is go to Output. And then once you're in Output, you're going to go to Audio. Here in Audio, I believe the default values for all of these will be I want to say 192 or maybe even 128. This is your audio bitrate, and this is going to be one of the biggest factors on the quality of your sound being put out to your stream. I would recommend not going below 128. Anything below 128 is going to degrade your sound quality by a good amount. Anything over 192, some people can't even notice a difference. So I personally recommend going all the way up to 320. This is going to be the best possible audio on OBS or Streamlabs OBS. I definitely wouldn't go below 128. And for most people, I'm going to recommend at least 192. But I would recommend just putting it up all the way to 320. Now this audio bitrate does eat into your overall bitrate. So keep that in mind if you're already streaming at a low video quality. For example, let's say 3500. Maybe you don't want to go all the way up to 320 here. Maybe you want to stay in the 160, 192 range. But for most of you, I'm going to recommend just putting it up to 320. You're only going to be using typically one audio track. So these are kind of unnecessary to change. I just put them all to 320 so that if I have more audio tracks in the future, I don't have to change anything. And this is going to be one of the biggest factors in determining how your overall audio quality sounds. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to come to audio, and you're going to see here under sample rate 44.1 or 48. This has much less of an impact on your overall audio quality as your audio bitrate does, but it does play a factor. One thing you can do here is actually go down to your taskbar, right click, and go into your sound settings and sound control panel. And right here, if you go to recording and you find your audio device that you're using, and you go to properties and advanced, it will tell you right here what your microphone quality is using. In this case, mine is using 48,000 hertz. So I'm going to leave mine at 48 kilohertz, which is 48,000 hertz. If yours says 44.1, I would select 44.1. If for some reason, this is going to work for 99% of you, but if for some reason you have anything lower than 44.1, I would just select 44.1. And if for some reason, if you have anything higher than 48, I would just select 48. But if you have one or the other, select which one you have under those sound settings there. For me, it's going to be 48 kilohertz. Channels, leave it on stereo. You would think that putting it up to 5.1 or 7.1 would sound better, but that's not really the way it works unless you're feeding audio in 7.1, and even then you're going to want to leave the stereo because unless somebody is listening on a 7.1 surround sound system, this isn't going to matter anyways. So for the sake of consistency, leave this on stereo. All of this right here you can leave on either default, or you can leave any of the audio tracks that you're not using disabled. And that's all for the settings as far as getting the best audio quality sent out to your stream. Now there's other things that you can do here under the mixer settings that can make a big impact as well. Not necessarily to the quality itself, but just how you sound to your stream. Now for me, an issue that I had was a little bit of a delay on my webcam to what people were actually hearing in my stream. In other words, they would see my mouth moving on the webcam before they were actually hearing me. And one of the ways that you can fix that is coming here to the mixer settings, not one of these cogs down here, but the main cog up here. And you can change your offset for your audio. So for example here, I have mine on 100. That fixed the issue with my out of sync audio. By default, this is going to be on 0. And what you're going to do here is increase this in increments of 100 because this is in milliseconds. You're going to increase this in increments of 100 until you either get it right or you notice it becoming out of sync in the opposite direction. In other words, you're hearing yourself before your mouth is even moving on your webcam. And once you hit that point, let's say I get to 300 milliseconds and it's becoming out of sync in the other direction, I'm going to go back down. And you're just going to play with this until you find a happy medium where your voice is in sync with your webcam. Now you can also kind of have that same problem if your overall audio, say through a game or something, is not syncing up correctly with the audio coming from your microphone. You can play around with all of these offsets. Typically, most of you are not going to have that issue in the first place. The main issue most of you are going to have, if any, is a little bit out of sync between your microphone and your webcam, and this is how you're going to fix that. But just be aware if your game audios is out of sync at all, you can actually fix that here as well. Now, the other cool things that you can do here is you see my microphone here. This is what I'm using. You can add filters to fix certain audio issues. Now for me, this is really convenient with this microphone in particular. I had a Turtle Beach Elite Pro 2 headset that was linked up through my Astro mix amp. And the Astro mix amp had its own voice settings. And under the Astro settings, they have a noise gate filter already. So I didn't really have to do anything in OBS itself because my Astro mix amp was taking care of all of my microphone settings by itself. But when I switched to this wireless headset, it doesn't have any noise gate settings or background noise suppression in the software. And that's really convenient because OBS has settings that you can use built in. So one thing I did was I added a noise gate, and you can add or delete any of these filters that you add. If you want to play with them, you can always delete them later if they don't work out right. But I added a noise gate. So I went here, I hit noise gate, and I added it in. And what this is going to do is it is basically going to leave your microphone essentially off until it picks up noise within this threshold range. And then it is going to activate your microphone. And what that does is it kind of takes away that background noise, or if you have an issue where your microphone is really sensitive and it picks up everything, you can actually use this to make sure the microphone's not activated until you're actually talking into it. And really the only thing you need to know for this is that your closed threshold needs to be a few decibels below your open threshold. If it's the same or above, it's not going to work correctly for this noise gate. You want to have it closed at a lower decibel rate than your open threshold. And the way you're going to set this and adjust this is you are basically going to zero these out all the way down. And then you are going to look down here and you are going to not talk. And you can see when I'm not talking, my microphone is still picking up audio. Now we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to slowly raise the open threshold until when I'm not talking, this bar stops moving. And there we go. You can see now when I'm not talking, this green bar is not moving anymore. It's not picking up anything. So it looks like 45 it's picking up. And about 40 or below, it's not picking anything up. So I'm going to set this roughly 39, let's say. So now it's not picking up any audio unless I'm actively talking into the mic. And now we're going to adjust this closed threshold till it's about 5 to 10 decibels. I usually use 6, but 5 to 10 decibels below this, which means we're going to want this at about 44 to 49. I'm just going to put it at about 45, about 6 decibels is good. I would leave all of this default. I changed all of these to 10. This just means different things. The hold time is how many milliseconds that it stays in the activated range. The release time, that would be like the amount of time before it releases the noise gate and deactivates the microphone. And then attack time is just how fast it comes on. You could probably leave these all on default. I changed mine to like a pretty low limit, just so all of this stuff is pretty aggressive. But I would recommend just leaving it on default unless you're having issues where the noise gate is clipping the beginning or end of what you're saying, and then you can adjust these down as needed. There's a lot of filters that you can add, but this is one of the most useful in my opinion. Another one is, I'll go over 2 more because they're a little bit more of the most useful ones, and that's gain and noise suppression. So you can come in here and add noise suppression, and this actually suppresses a little bit of background noise. I would recommend leaving this at 30, but you can get as aggressive or as lenient as you would like. I recommend leaving this on 30, but you can play with the suppression level to eliminate just a little bit of that background noise. And a lot of people use both of these together to really create a good sound. And then the third thing is gain. And what gain does is this adjusts essentially the sensitivity, but also somewhat indirectly your volume of your microphone. So if you're talking into your microphone and down here it's already at max value and you're noticing an issue where you're just not loud enough even though this is maxed out, you can actually increase your gain, which is going to increase the sensitivity a little bit as well, but it will also raise the volume. And you can see there, even just in my normal speaking voice, I'm in the red, which means my voice is probably clipping a little bit as well. So you don't necessarily want that, but you can raise the sensitivity and thereby a little bit of the overall volume of your microphone if you're having issues being too low to your stream. Now you might have the opposite issue and you're too loud and you don't want to adjust this down, which I would actually recommend that be the first place you start, but you can actually lower the gain as well, and that's going to decrease the sensitivity and the volume of your microphone. For most of you, 0 is going to be okay. I would only adjust this up if you're having issues with being too loud. I would actually come down here and lower this first before I adjust the gain. But if you're already at max volume and you're still too low, you can increase the gain here. And a lot of people use these 3 together because the noise gate is good, as we discussed, for not activating the microphone until you're actually wanting sound to be picked up, which is when you're talking. Noise suppression can work for eliminating a little bit of background noise. And once you add these 2 things, sometimes that can make your microphone a little bit too quiet. And that's when you would come in and add a little bit of gain. So a lot of this is just trial and error. Many of you may not need any noise filters at all, which is great. That's perfect. But if you do need a little bit of a noise gate, you can add it. If that doesn't work completely and you want to add a little bit of noise suppression for background noise, you can add that in. And then if you're having issues with the volume of your microphone in general, or if after adding 1 or 2 of these things right here, you notice that your microphone is just a little bit on the quiet side, you can add in some gain. Now you can also do that with other audio sources. For example, even your desktop audio, you can come in here and add a filter to that, and you can add any kind of filter you want for your desktop audio. Most of you aren't going to need that. In fact, I would argue that adding a filter to your desktop audio itself is probably going to introduce some issues, but you can add different things to different filters. You can add noise filters to any of your alerts or anything like that. So most of you are just going to use this on your microphone, but it's good to be aware that you can add noise filters to any of that as well. And that's really going to be it. After you adjust your settings correctly, and then you add any necessary noise filters, that's really going to go a long way into making your stream sound the best that it can, because audio quality is arguably just as important as visual quality when it comes to people enjoying your stream. It can look fantastic, but if you've got a microphone that's too loud or too quiet, or your desktop audio is too loud, or your sound settings for your Spotify or whatever music you're playing in the background is too loud, or if you've just got a really bad quality microphone, that's really going to ruin the experience. So you want to make sure your audio quality is on point, and hopefully these settings will help you get there. I hope you guys found this tutorial useful. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. If you guys would like to see any of my product reviews or other stream tutorials, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you guys have any questions and want to catch me live, I stream on twitch.tv/murphfrags pretty much 6 or 7 nights a week starting around 9:30 Eastern. And I'd be happy to help you guys with any questions you have about setting up your own stream or any questions you might have about any of my tutorials or reviews over there in real time. Thanks for watching, YouTube. We'll catch you later.